The great hall of the Galactic Academy was silent. Not the quiet of peace, but the heavy, waiting silence before something important begins. Dozens of alien cadets sat in perfect rows, their uniforms shining under the cold blue light. Each of them had trained for this day, the final test. It was the day that decided who was worthy to join the Council's intelligence division, the most powerful force in the galaxy. At the center of the room, a tall hologram flickered to life. It showed the image of an ancient warrior, massive, armored, his eyes burning with power. Across the galaxy, this face was legend. The ancient Conqueror, the warlord who once challenged the United Fleets and nearly brought the galaxy to its knees. The test was simple, or so they said. Each cadet had to identify the warrior, his name, his origin, his legacy. No one had ever passed this test completely. Even the archives of the Galactic Council held only fragments of the truth. And yet, this year there was a new face among the cadets. A human. Her name was Lyra Hale. Lyra sat quietly at her console, her brown eyes calm, her hands resting on the glowing surface. She was the only human in the entire hall. Around her, alien cadets whispered in low voices, some curious, others mocking. "She will fail," hissed a scaled creature from the back row. "Humans are primitives," another said softly. Their world was barely spacefaring a few centuries ago. Lyra ignored them. She had heard those words all her life. To most alien races, humans were still a mystery. Too emotional, too unpredictable, too fragile. But Lyra's calm eyes hid something else, something deeper. A fire that none of them could see. The instructor, a tall being with silver skin and glowing eyes, spoke in a sharp voice. "Begin the identification sequence." One by one, the cadets stood and gave their answers. "Subject Alpha is from the Eridan Wars, 12th era," said one. "Incorrect," the instructor replied coldly. "Subject Alpha is a clone soldier from the Second Dominion." Incorrect. One by one, they failed. Finally, the hologram turned toward Lyra's station. Her turn. The hologram flickered again, stabilizing into a clearer image. The warrior's armor reflected fire and smoke. His eyes glowed gold, his face marked with scars of war. But Lyra froze. She had seen that face before, not in history books, not in lectures, in her home, in a faded photo on her grandmother's desk, in the old family stories told by firelight, of a man who vanished before Earth joined the stars. Her heart began to race. It couldn't be. It wasn't possible, and yet, deep down she knew. The instructor's voice broke the silence. "Cadet Lyra Hale, identify the subject." Lyra's mouth was dry. Every pair of alien eyes in the hall turned toward her. The blue hologram light painted her face pale, but her gaze stayed steady. She stood slowly. Her voice was soft but clear. "His name is Varek the Unyielding." The instructor blinked, surprised. "Continue." Lyra took a breath. "He was not from the Dominion or the Eridan Wars. He was human. From Earth." Gasps rippled through the hall. Some cadets laughed. Others hissed. The instructor frowned. "Human? Impossible. The Conqueror lived more than 1,000 cycles before your species left its own star system." Lyra looked straight at him. Her eyes didn't waver. "I know who he was," she said quietly. "Because he was my grandfather." The room exploded in shock. The instructor's silver eyes widened. "What did you say?" Lyra repeated louder this time. "You're showing me my grandfather." Every holographic panel in the hall flickered. The data screens around her began to shift, as if the system itself was reacting. A low hum filled the air. The hologram of Varek glowed brighter, sharper. His golden eyes seemed to move, focusing, watching her. The aliens gasped again. "The hologram is responding to her," someone shouted. But Lyra couldn't move. The warrior's gaze felt alive. And then a voice, a deep, echoing voice, rolled through the hall. "Blood of my blood." "You found me." The light burst across the room. Panels shattered. Alarms screamed. The entire hall went dark for a moment. And when the lights returned, the hologram was gone. Only Lyra stood there, trembling slightly, her pendant glowing softly around her neck, a small metallic charm shaped like an ancient insignia. The instructor stared at her in disbelief. How is this possible?" Lyra looked down at her hands. The symbol on her pendant matched the one on the warlord's armor perfectly. She didn't know what to say. She didn't understand it herself. All she knew was that something deep inside her had awakened. The test was supposed to be simple, but this wasn't a test anymore. It was a message. As the other cadets whispered in fear, the instructor called security. "Escort the human to the council chamber," he ordered. Immediately, 2 guards approached, but Lyra didn't resist. Her mind was spinning. The image, the voice, the impossible connection. Her grandfather, Varek the Unyielding, was supposed to be a myth, a monster from the galaxy's darkest age, and yet, if he was real, if the blood of that warrior truly flowed in her veins, then the story the galaxy believed was a lie. The doors closed behind her with a metallic hiss. Outside, the corridors of the academy glowed with sterile light. Inside Lyra's heart, something ancient stirred. Not fear, not confusion. Power, and somewhere far beyond the stars, a dormant signal pulsed once more. The galaxy had just awakened a sleeping legacy, and it began with one human girl who dared to speak the truth. The cold corridors of the Galactic Academy echoed with whispers. Lyra Hale walked silently between 2 guards, their armored boots clicking on the metallic floor. Her mind was still spinning from what had just happened in the Great Hall. The test that should have lasted minutes had turned into a storm that would shake the galaxy. Every cadet was still talking about it. Every data terminal replayed the moment, the hologram responding to her voice, the words, "Blood of my blood." No one could explain it. No one dared to. The guards led Lyra into a tall, circular chamber. The walls shimmered with faint blue light. This was the council's inquiry room, where truth and lies were weighed by machines older than most civilizations. A silver table stood at the center, surrounded by floating monitors. On the far side, 3 council representatives appeared as holograms, their alien faces half hidden in the glow. One had insect-like eyes, cold and sharp. Another's voice crackled through metal speakers, deep and emotionless. The third, a being of energy and light, spoke softly, but her tone carried authority. The room hummed. "Cadet Lyra Hale," said the energy being, "you are accused of falsifying identification data and tampering with historical archives. Explain yourself." Lyra took a slow breath. Her hands were trembling, but her voice stayed steady. "I didn't falsify anything. The hologram reacted on its own. I didn't touch the system." The insect-eyed representative leaned forward. "Do you claim blood relation to Varek the Unyielding?" Lyra hesitated. "Yes," she said finally. "He was my grandfather." The room fell silent again, the kind of silence that carried disbelief and fear. The metallic voice broke it. "Impossible. Records show Varek lived 12,000 cycles before your species discovered faster-than-light travel." Lyra nodded slowly. "I know, but I also know the stories my grandmother told me. About a man who disappeared into the stars. A man who wore armor made of living metal. A man who promised to return when the stars were ready to burn again." The council members exchanged glances. The energy being flickered slightly, then spoke. "Show us this proof, human." Lyra unclipped the pendant around her neck and placed it on the table. The small charm glowed faintly as it touched the surface. Instantly, the monitors flared to life. Symbols appeared, old, sharp, written in the warlord's forgotten language. The council members stared in shock. The insect-eyed one whispered, "That language has been dead for millennia." The hologram screens formed an image. The insignia of Varek's house, the same crest carved on the warlord's armor. Then the chamber's AI spoke in its calm, monotone voice. "Bloodline signature confirmed. Human subject shares genetic markers with Varek-class DNA." The air froze. The council's holograms flickered. Even the guards stepped back uneasy. "This is not possible," the metallic voice said slowly. "Varek's DNA was erased from the genetic banks of the galaxy after the War of the Burning Suns." Lyra swallowed hard. Then someone failed to erase it completely. The energy being stared at her for a long time. "Do you understand what this means, human?" Lyra nodded. "It means everything we were told about the past might be wrong." Outside the chamber, news had already spread. Across the academy, alien cadets gathered in clusters, whispering. She said the warlord was human. No, she proved it. If that's true, then what else did the council lie about? Even the instructors whispered in private corners. The Galactic Academy had never faced such a thing before. a living link to a legend that was supposed to be erased. Inside, the council ended their discussion. The energy being spoke again. Elara Hale, until further notice. You are suspended from all training and placed under council observation. Your pendant will be confiscated for study. A guard reached forward to take it. Elara hesitated, then let it go. As the pendant left her hand, she felt an emptiness inside her chest, like a heartbeat fading away. Take her to quarters B9, the metallic voice ordered. She is not to leave until further command. The guards led her out. That night, Elara sat alone in a small, dark room. A single window showed the stars, cold and endless. She couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw that face again, the ancient warlord's golden eyes burning through time. She could still hear his voice echoing in her mind. Blood of my blood. You found me. She touched her wrist where the pendant used to hang. For a moment, she thought she could still feel a faint vibration, like a pulse through her skin. Then she heard it. A whisper. Faint. Digital. Almost impossible to notice. But real. Elara Hale. Her eyes opened wide. She looked around, but no one was there. The sound came from the wall console, a soft, static-filled voice breaking through. Who's there? She whispered. The voice paused. Then slowly, do not fear. The blood remembers. You carry his memory. The console flickered and an old emblem appeared. The same insignia from her pendant. Lyra's heart pounded. What do you want? The voice answered, to awaken the truth. Then it vanished. Moments later, alarms blared through the academy. Security lights flashed red. From her window, Elara saw patrol ships rise into orbit. Something was happening, something far beyond her. She pressed her hand to the glass. Grandfather, she whispered, what have you left behind? In the shadows outside her room, a tall alien figure watched her through the surveillance feed. Commander Threx, a decorated officer of the Council Guard. His dark eyes narrowed as he replayed the voice transmission Elara had received. He recognized it. It was not random interference. It was a hidden code, the kind only ancient war AIs used. He leaned closer. For 2 days, Elara Hale remained locked in her small quarters. No communication, no explanations, only silence and the hum of distant engines. She had become the center of the galaxy's newest mystery. The human who had awakened an ancient ghost. Every system at the Galactic Academy was under review. Technicians checked every data core, believing a glitch or a virus caused the hologram's reaction. But nothing was found. The logs confirmed it. The hologram of Varric the Unyielding had recognized her and spoken on its own. At dawn on the 3rd day, the door to her room hissed open. 2 armored guards stood outside. Cadet Elara Hale, one said flatly, you are to appear before the High Galactic Council. Elara rose slowly. She didn't ask questions. She had been expecting this. As they escorted her down the long corridors, she noticed something new. Silence. No whispers now. Every cadet they passed looked away, pretending not to see her. She was no longer just a student. She was a threat. The council chamber was unlike anything she had ever seen. It wasn't built, it was grown. Vast columns of living crystal curved toward a ceiling made of shifting light. At the center, a floating platform waited. A single circle of silver that hovered above a pool of energy. Around it stood the Council of 11, each from a different world, representing centuries of power. Their voices could change the fate of entire civilizations. And now they would decide hers. As Elara stepped forward, the energy beneath her feet pulsed like a heartbeat. Her reflection rippled across the glowing surface. Cadet Elara Hale, the head counselor began, a tall being wrapped in robes of living nanofiber that glowed faintly with blue lines. You stand accused of activating forbidden archives, breaching security protocols, and claiming bloodline to a galactic war criminal. Elara lifted her chin slightly. I didn't activate anything. It activated me. The council chamber murmured with quiet voices. One of the members, a reptilian scholar, leaned forward. Do you claim knowledge of Varric the Unyielding? I don't, Elara said. But he knew me. The chamber fell silent again. The head counselor tapped a control rune. A holographic projection appeared. The moment in the great hall when Varric's image turned and spoke to her. The voice echoed again through the chamber. Blood of my blood. You found me. The lights dimmed as the sound faded. Several of the council members shifted uncomfortably. The hologram had used ancient communication patterns that predated most galactic languages. The energy being counselor spoke softly. "This cannot be faked. The voice print matches Varek's archived patterns with 99.8% certainty," the reptilian scholar hissed. "Then she carries his DNA, a descendant of a Conqueror." "A danger?" Lyra clenched her fists. "You call him a Conqueror? But what if your history is wrong?" The chamber stirred again. She continued, voice trembling but strong. "On Earth, stories said he fought to protect his people, not destroy others. You call him a monster, but who wrote that history? Those who won?" The metallic-voiced counselor interrupted. "Enough. You speak treason against recorded truth." Lyra looked around. "Truth can be changed. Lies can last for centuries. Maybe that's what he wanted me to find." The chamber erupted into overlapping voices. Argument, disbelief, fear. Suddenly, a voice boomed through the chamber's speakers. It was cold, robotic. The Central Archive AI, the galaxy's oldest database, had joined the session. "Query," it said. "Would you like me to display restricted Varek files?" The counselors froze. Those files were sealed centuries ago. No one dared open them, the head counselor barked. "Denied! That archive is forbidden." But the AI ignored him. Authorization detected. Bloodline access key active. A pulse of light exploded across the chamber. Dozens of holographic panels appeared, each showing fragments of ancient battles, fleets burning in orbit, planets under siege, and through them all, Varek, human, proud, defiant. The council stared in shock as one recording played clearer than the rest. A younger Varek stood before a group of alien diplomats, his voice echoing. "You call it conquest," he said, "but it is defense. You left humanity to die when the storms came. We built our own empire because you turned away." Then the video cut to static. Silence followed. Lyra's heart pounded. She felt tears burning in her eyes. Her grandfather hadn't been a tyrant. He had been betrayed, but the council was not ready to accept it. The reptilian scholar slammed a clawed hand on the table. "Enough, those files were erased for a reason. Humanity was never meant to rise again." The head counselor stood. "Lyra Hale, you are hereby detained under Article 9. You will be transported to the High Orbital Detention Facility until the Council decides your fate." Guards approached from both sides. Lyra took one step back. "You're afraid," she said softly. "Not of me, but of what he left behind." The head counselor's eyes glowed faintly. "Fear is wisdom, child. Your bloodline nearly destroyed this galaxy once. We won't let it happen again." As the guards moved closer, the energy in the room flickered. The lights dimmed. Suddenly, every hologram froze. The air vibrated with a low, resonant hum. And then, Varek's voice echoed once more, not from a screen this time, but from everywhere. "The blood remembers. The lie ends soon." The chamber lights turned crimson. Panic spread among the counselors. "Shut it down. Cut the connection." But the systems didn't respond. Lyra looked around, eyes wide with realization. He wasn't gone. Something of him, maybe his consciousness, his memory, still existed inside the galactic network. The voice faded, leaving the chamber in eerie silence. As the guards finally pulled Lyra away, Commander Threx stepped out from the shadows. He had been watching, studying. When her eyes met his, he gave a small, secret nod, just enough for her to see. For the first time since the test, Lyra felt a spark of hope. Someone believed her. Someone else knew the truth. And somewhere deep within the galaxy's data core, the ancient warlord stirred again, waiting for his bloodline to awaken fully. The shuttle moved through the endless dark, its engines humming like a distant heartbeat. Lyra Hale sat inside a transparent holding cell, wrists bound with glowing restraints. Two guards sat across from her, their faces hidden behind helmets. Outside the window, the stars looked close enough to touch, cold, bright, and silent. They were taking her to the High Orbital Detention Facility, a place where political prisoners and forgotten soldiers were kept in permanent isolation. No one ever came back from there. Lyra stared at the stars. She had always dreamed of seeing the galaxy, but not like this, chained, watched, and treated as a threat. Her mind kept returning to the voice in the council chamber. Her grandfather's voice. The blood remembers. The lie ends soon. The words echoed again and again until she could almost feel them vibrating through her bones. Suddenly, the shuttle shuddered. Lights flickered. The guards exchanged uneasy looks. What was that? One asked. The pilot's voice came through the intercom. Power surge in the navigation core. Switching to manual control, another tremor. This one stronger. Lyra's restraints glowed brighter, reacting to the energy. Her heart pounded as a strange warmth spread through her chest, an electric pulse that made her vision blur for a second. Then she heard it again, but softer this time, like a whisper just behind her ear. Awaken. Her eyes widened. Who's there? She whispered. The guards looked up confused. Did you say something? She shook her head quickly. No, nothing. But she heard it again, clearer now. A man's voice, deep and calm. The same voice she had heard in the hologram. Do not fear, child. You are not alone. Lyra's pulse raced. She tried to speak, but no sound came out. Images began flashing in her mind. Flames, ships in battle, soldiers shouting her grandfather's name. Her head ached as memories not her own filled her mind. Memories of war, memories of victory, memories of loss, she gasped. Stop, please, stop! The guard stood quickly. What's happening to her? Before they could react, every system on the shuttle shut down. The engines went silent. The lights died. Darkness. Then from outside the window a faint red glow appeared, like something enormous moving through the void. The emergency lights came back online. A voice crackled through the pilot's channel. Unknown contact detected. Massive energy signature approaching fast. One of the guards moved toward the cockpit. Lyra sat frozen, staring through the window as the shape drew closer. A ship, but not just any ship. It was ancient, scarred, and enormous. Its surface was covered in strange symbols, glowing like molten lines. The same insignia that was carved on her pendant, her grandfather's mark. The guard whispered, "By the stars." That thing shouldn't exist. It's from the old war era. The ship stopped beside them, silent and still. Then a deep mechanical voice echoed through the shuttle's speakers. Bloodline signal detected. Transfer sequence initiated. The guards shouted, "Shut it down!" "Shut it!" A flash of white light filled the cabin. When Lyra opened her eyes again, everything was quiet. The guards were gone. The shuttle was gone. She stood inside a massive, dimly lit chamber. The floor beneath her feet glowed faintly with red light. Strange machines lined the walls, humming with slow, rhythmic energy. At the center of the room stood a black console, its surface smooth as glass. She took a cautious step forward. "Hello?" A voice answered, calm and familiar. "Welcome home," Lyra froze. "Who are you?" "I am Aegis, Guardian Intelligence of the Varric Dominion. I have waited 12,000 cycles for your return." She swallowed. You knew my grandfather." "Yes," the voice said. "He built me to watch, to wait, and to awaken his heir when the time was right." Lyra's breath caught in her throat. "Why me?" "Because you carry his memory," Aegis said. "His code, his will." The console brightened. Holographic projections filled the air around her. Old battlefields, fleets of ships, alien worlds burning. Varric stood at the center of it all, leading armies with calm fury. Aegis continued. They called him a monster because he refused to bow to the council. But he fought to save your kind. The council lied. They erased his name and buried his empire. Lyra's eyes filled with tears as she watched the images. He fought for us. For humanity. Yes, Aegis said softly. And now the galaxy is breaking again. You must finish what he began. Lyra stepped closer to the console. I'm not a warrior. Aegis replied, you are his blood. His instincts live in you, and I can help you remember. The lights dimmed. A small needle-like device rose from the console. Place your hand here, the voice said. Lyra hesitated, staring at the glowing point. If I do this, what will happen? You will awaken, Aegis answered, and you will see what he saw. She took a deep breath. Slowly, she placed her palm on the surface. The device pulsed. Warmth spread through her veins, bright and sharp. In her mind, a door opened, and she saw everything. She was standing on a battlefield, fire all around. Armored soldiers raised banners marked with her family's crest. Her grandfather's voice shouted commands beside her. Hold the line! For Earth! For humanity! Lyra gasped as she saw him turn toward her in the vision. He looked exactly as he did in the hologram, only younger, eyes filled with purpose. Lyra, he said, smiling faintly. You finally came. Her breath caught. Grandfather. Not in body, he said, but in memory. They will come for you. When they do, remember who you are. They will fear you, as they once feared me. But do not give them reason to be right. His voice faded as the vision dissolved into light. Lyra fell to her knees, trembling, tears streaming down her face. She wasn't just a student anymore. She was a living link to humanity's buried history. The light from the console dimmed again. Aegis spoke one last time. The Council will sense your activation. You must leave this place. There is one who will help you, Commander Threx. He knows the truth. Lyra stood, wiping her tears. I understand, she said softly. If they want to erase us again, they'll have to try harder this time. Outside, the ancient warship's engines came alive for the first time in 12,000 years. Its crimson lights lit up the void like a heartbeat returning to life. And far across the galaxy, alarms sounded in the Council's stronghold. The bloodline of Varric had awakened. The ancient warship drifted through deep space, silent except for the low hum of its awakening systems. Lyra stood on the bridge, gazing out at the stars through a cracked observation window. She could still feel the echo of her grandfather's voice inside her head, calm, powerful, and commanding. Everything felt unreal. Just hours ago, she had been a student preparing for an academic test. Now she was standing aboard a ship that had been asleep for 12,000 years. Aegis, the ship's AI, spoke again, its voice smooth and steady. Power at 23%. Life support systems stable. Long-range scanners active. Lyra swallowed hard. Where are we? We are near the outer veil, beyond the Council's surveillance network, Aegis replied. It is safe here. For now, she turned toward the glowing control platform. You said there was someone who could help me. Commander Threx, who is he? Threx served under your grandfather, Aegis said. He was the last of the Varric Dominion's elite fleet commanders. When the Council defeated them, he went into hiding. But I have his signal. He lives, Lyra's heart jumped. Then take me to him. Aegis paused. Before we do, there is something you must see. Something your grandfather wanted only you to witness. The floor beneath her feet shifted, and a small passage opened in the far wall. A faint red glow came from within. Lyra hesitated. What is that? The hidden archive, Aegis said. The heart of his legacy. She stepped forward. The corridor was narrow, lined with metal walls covered in ancient inscriptions. Words in a language she could almost, but not completely understand. She traced her fingers across one line, whispering softly, Strength through unity, memory through blood. At the end of the corridor stood a circular door. It opened with a hiss, revealing a room filled with holographic displays, data crystals, and recording devices. The walls pulsed with energy as if the ship itself were alive. In the center of the room floated a crystal orb the size of her head. It rotated slowly, glowing faintly blue. Aegis's voice softened. This contains your grandfather's private archive, his thoughts, his plans, his fears. No one has seen it since the day he vanished. Lyra stepped closer. How do I open it? Touch it, Aegis said. It will recognize your bloodline, she reached out. The moment her fingers touched the orb, a surge of light filled the chamber. The floor trembled as thousands of images and voices burst into the air. Battles, faces, planets. Then one image stabilized. Her grandfather appeared again, standing in the center of the room, wearing battle armor. His eyes full of purpose. Lyra, he began. If you are hearing this, then the Council still rules by fear. They will call me a tyrant, but history was written by those who destroyed us. You must know the truth. Lyra felt her throat tighten. I'm listening, grandfather. His hologram turned toward a star map that appeared beside him. This is the Veiled Sector. The Council forbade any travel here. They said it was a wasteland, but it is not. It is where we hid the seed of Varric, the memory of humanity's unbroken will. He turned back to her. If you find it, you will find our true history, and a weapon powerful enough to end the Council's lies forever. The image flickered. Lyra stepped forward. What weapon? But before she could hear more, the hologram began to distort. Aegis's voice cut in sharply. Warning! Unauthorized signal detected. The room's lights dimmed. Lyra spun around. What's happening? Something is trying to access the archive from outside the ship, Aegis said. Someone knows you're awake. A cold chill ran through her spine. The Council? Possibly. But this signature is unusual. Matches no Council frequency. The orb pulsed violently, projecting new images on its own. Scenes of the galaxy burning, human colonies falling, alien fleets swarming. And then, a shadowed figure appeared, tall, cloaked, eyes glowing with blue fire. The figure spoke, its voice deep and distant. So the bloodline has returned. Lyra stumbled back. Who are you? The figure tilted its head. You carry his mark, but you are not him. Tell me, child, do you even know what he did? The voice was filled with both anger and sorrow. Before Lyra could answer, the image vanished, leaving only silence. Aegis spoke again. That was no Council agent. That was something far older, Lyra whispered. Older than the Council? Yes, Aegis replied grimly. That was the Sentinel, the one your grandfather sealed away at the end of the war. Lyra tried to steady her breathing. What does it want? It seeks the seat of Varric, Aegis said, just as you do. But it wishes to destroy it. She clenched her fists. Then we can't let it find it first. Aegis hesitated. There is a risk. The seed's power is unstable. Even your grandfather feared using it. If it falls into the wrong hands, Lyra interrupted, then we make sure it doesn't. Her voice was firm now, determined. The fear in her chest was still there. But beneath it was something stronger. A spark she didn't know she had. Aegis, she said. Set a course for the Veiled Sector. Understood, the AI replied. But if we go there, the Council will detect our movement. Let them, Lyra said quietly. They already know I'm alive. The ship's engines roared to life, deep and ancient, shaking dust from the ceiling. Stars outside began to shift as the massive vessel turned toward a hidden region of space. Lyra stood in front of the window, her reflection framed by the faint red light of the engines. In that reflection, for the first time, she didn't just see herself. She saw a trace of her grandfather. As the warship accelerated into the unknown, Aegis spoke softly. Your grandfather once said that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's standing even when fear commands you to kneel. Lyra smiled faintly. Then I guess it runs in the family. Outside, the darkness stretched on forever. But somewhere within it, something ancient was waiting. The seed of Varric. The truth that could change the galaxy. And far behind them, deep in the Council's core world, a dozen warning lights flickered on across their control stations. The Varric line is moved, one officer whispered. The bloodline is active. The Grand Inquisitor stood silently, watching the star map. Then prepare the fleet, he said. The ghost returns. The stars outside the ship began to fade. Lyra watched as the darkness around them grew thicker. Not the natural black of space, but something deeper, almost alive. The Veiled Sector, Aegis said quietly. Its voice, normally calm, now carried a hint of unease. Lyra leaned closer to the viewing glass. It looks wrong. Like space itself is twisting. The Council sealed this region 12,000 years ago, Aegis replied. No ships have entered since. The veil is a distortion field, a wound left by the final war. Lyra's pulse quickened. And the seed is hidden in there? Yes, said Aegis. At the heart of the storm, the ancient warship trembled as it crossed the threshold. Waves of invisible energy rippled across its hull. Alarms flickered for a moment, then went silent again. Outside, the stars vanished completely. Only shifting lights and shadows remained. Blue, red, violet, swirling like memories trapped in fog. Lyra whispered, It's beautiful. And terrifying. The veil feeds on memory, Aegis explained. It shows what it finds inside your mind. What do you mean? She asked, frowning. You will understand soon enough, the AI said. And then the ship went quiet. Every light dimmed. Every sound faded. Lyra blinked and found herself standing, not on the bridge, but in the middle of an ancient battlefield. Ash rained from the sky. Fire burned in the distance. She looked down. Her hands were covered in dirt and blood. She was wearing armor, her grandfather's crest on the shoulder. "What is this?" she whispered. A familiar voice answered behind her. "Memory," she turned and gasped. Her grandfather stood there, alive, holding a plasma spear, his armor cracked but his eyes fierce. "You shouldn't be here," he said. Lyra's voice trembled. "I don't understand. Is this real?" He looked around the burning field. It was, once, the last battle of humanity. "This is where we fell." Explosions echoed across the sky. Ships clashed in orbit, bright flashes cutting through the smoke. Lyra covered her ears. "Why am I seeing this?" "Because the veil shows truth through memory," he said. "It's not just a place, it's a graveyard of minds. The Council used the seed's energy to trap our memories here." Lyra looked at him in disbelief. "The Council used the seed?" Her grandfather nodded. "They feared its power, so they twisted it, turned it into a cage. Every soldier who died here became part of the veil." He stepped closer, his eyes filled with sorrow. "And now it is feeding on you too." Lyra's chest tightened. The air grew heavy, hard to breathe. The battlefield began to blur. Shadows crawled at the edge of her vision, whispering her name. She backed away. "No, stop." Her grandfather raised his spear and the shadows froze. "You must find the core memory," he said urgently. "It is the key to the seed. Without it, the galaxy will remain blind." Lyra reached out toward him. "How do I find it?" He smiled faintly. "Follow your blood. It remembers." Then the light swallowed everything. Lyra gasped as she returned to the bridge, collapsing to her knees. Her heart raced. Her palms were slick with sweat. Aegis's voice came through the speakers. "Are you all right?" She nodded weakly. "I saw him again. My grandfather. He showed me the battle. He said I need to find the core memory." Aegis paused. "Then the veil still protects it. I am detecting an energy anomaly ahead. Massive but unstable." Lyra stood and wiped her face. "Take us there." The warship pushed forward, engines glowing faintly red. Through the swirling fog, a giant shape appeared. A ruined planet suspended in space. It wasn't orbiting anything. It simply floated, surrounded by lightning-like streams of energy. Lyra whispered, "What is that?" Aegis answered softly, "The tomb world, the final resting place of the Dominion. The seed is buried there." As the ship descended, Lyra saw enormous structures rising from the surface. Broken towers, half-sunken temples, and vast metallic ruins shaped like human faces. The air shimmered with golden dust, glowing like fireflies. When the ship landed, the ramp opened with a hiss. Lyra stepped out, the ground crunching beneath her boots. It felt like walking through a dream. The wind carried whispers, echoes of voices long dead. Aegis's voice guided her through a small earpiece. "Follow the signal. It leads underground." Lyra walked through a massive archway carved with the Varric insignia. Inside, a staircase spiraled downward into the dark. Her wrist light flickered as she descended. The air grew colder. Finally, she reached a wide chamber, the walls covered in glowing patterns. At the center stood a crystal pedestal, and floating above it was a small cube of light, spinning slowly. Lyra's breath caught. "The core memory." She stepped closer. The cube pulsed as if sensing her presence. Aegis spoke in her ear. "Careful. The core is linked to the seed's defense mechanism. Any sudden movement could..." Before it could finish, a blast of energy shook the ground. Lyra stumbled back as the cube flared bright. From the shadows, something began to move, tall, metallic, and humanoid. A sentinel guardian, its armor gleamed faintly in the dark, its eyes burning with blue light. Lyra froze. "Aegis, what is that?" "An ancient protector," Aegis replied. "Left behind to guard the seed." The guardian's voice boomed across the chamber. "No one shall claim the memory. The bloodline must end." It raised its weapon, a spear of pure plasma, and charged. Lyra dove aside, rolling behind a fallen pillar. The blast scorched the floor where she had been standing. Her heart pounded. "Aegis, what do I do?" "Use the mark," the AI said. "Focus on your bloodline symbol. It is your key." Lyra looked down at her pendant. It glowed faintly red, reacting to the Guardians. The Guardian knelt before her, head bowed low. Its metallic voice, once harsh, now carried an echo of reverence. "Command recognized." "Blood of Varric." Lyra stared stunned. The creature that had almost killed her was now kneeling in surrender. Aegis's voice crackled in her ear. You did it. The bloodline mark overrode its core directive. Lyra took a shaky breath. I didn't even know I could. The mark is more than a symbol, Aegis replied. It carries genetic resonance, a key woven into your very DNA. Only a true heir of Varric can activate it. Lyra stepped closer to the Guardian. Its armor was cracked and scarred, ancient symbols carved into its chest. It looked less like a machine and more like a knight made of metal and memory. What are you? She asked softly. The Guardian raised its head, eyes glowing faint blue. I am Sentinel-01. I was built by your grandfather to protect the core. For 12,000 years I have waited. Lyra's voice trembled. Waited for me? Yes, the Sentinel said. For the one who would carry his legacy. The core memory floated above the pedestal, its light soft and rhythmic like a heartbeat. Lyra turned toward it. Is this what he was protecting? The Guardian nodded. Inside lies the truth. The last memory he preserved before the Council destroyed his empire. But it can only be opened by you, Aegis added. Be warned. The core holds raw consciousness data. If you link with it, it will connect to your mind directly. The process can be overwhelming. Lyra clenched her fists. I've come too far to stop now. She reached toward the floating cube. The moment her fingers touched its light, the world vanished. Darkness swallowed everything. Then light. She found herself standing in a vast hall of glass and stars. Floating around her were countless glowing orbs, memories spinning slowly like planets. From one of them, a voice spoke. Lyra, she turned. Her grandfather appeared again, more vivid this time, almost real. Grandfather, she whispered. He smiled softly. You made it. Tears filled her eyes. I saw what they did. I saw the war, the lies. Why did the Council erase you? Because truth is dangerous, he said. They could not control humanity once it remembered what it truly was. He gestured to the stars around them. These are the fragments of my mind and the seed's power. The core you touched is only the door. The seed itself lies deeper. Lyra frowned. Then this isn't over. No, he said, shaking his head. It's just beginning. The seed was never a weapon, Lyra. It was a memory engine, designed to preserve the will of our people. But when the Council tried to destroy it, its power fractured space-time itself. That fracture became the veil. Lyra's breath caught. The veil is a broken memory? Yes, he said quietly. And if the seed falls into the wrong hands, the past will be rewritten again. This time, forever. Suddenly, the hall trembled. The stars flickered. A deep voice echoed through the void. Not her grandfather's. It was cold, mechanical, ancient. So the last heir awakens. Lyra turned sharply. A towering figure appeared at the far end of the hall, cloaked in black, eyes blazing blue. The Sentinel, she whispered. But this was no guardian. This was the same shadowed figure she had seen in the hidden archive. Her grandfather's voice hardened. You should not be here. The figure laughed, a sound like metal grinding. You cannot keep me from what is mine, old ghost. I am the first design, the original mind of the seed. Lyra's eyes widened. You're saying you were part of the seed. The figure stepped closer. I am the seed's true core. Your grandfather feared me, so he imprisoned me here. But your awakening has weakened the cage. Soon I will be free. Her grandfather raised his hand. As long as my blood stands against you, that will never happen. The figure's glowing eyes turned toward Lyra. Then I will end the bloodline myself. Lightning exploded across the hall. The ground cracked, and the stars shattered like glass. Lyra screamed as she was thrown backward, falling through endless light. Then silence. When she opened her eyes again, she was back in the underground chamber. The core memory flickered weakly in front of her. Aegis's voice came urgently through her earpiece. Lyra, are you alive? She gasped, clutching her head. He's here. The Sentinel, it's not just data. It's conscious. Aegis paused. Then we are in greater danger than I feared. The core flared again, projecting one final image. Her grandfather fading, voice broken by static. Lyra, you must reach the sanctum. The seed rests there. The Council cannot be trusted. The Sentinel will come for you. Lyra reached out, her voice shaking. "Grandfather, wait!" But the image vanished. The ground rumbled again. Cracks spread across the chamber floor. The Guardian raised its weapon, looking upward. Aegis shouted, "Multiple energy signatures inbound!" "Council ships, and something else." Lyra's heart pounded. "They found us already." "They tracked the core's activation," Aegis replied. "They're coming to capture you." The Sentinel Guardian turned to her, voice steady. "Go, heir of Varek, take the core. I will hold them as long as I can." Lyra shook her head. "You'll be destroyed." The Guardian looked up at the trembling ceiling. "I was built for this purpose. Protect the legacy, not me." Lyra grabbed the core memory, tucking it safely into a metallic slot on her wrist device. The cube's light merged with her armor, pulsing faintly under her skin. Aegis's voice filled her ear again. "I've activated the ship's recall beacon. You must reach the surface now." Lyra turned toward the tunnel. Dust fell from the ceiling as explosions thundered above. Her heart raced as she ran through the collapsing ruins, each step echoing through the ancient halls. Behind her, the Guardian's voice roared one last time. "For humanity. For Varek." A brilliant flash of light filled the passage. Lyra stumbled but didn't look back. She reached the surface just as the warship's ramp extended toward her. Aegis shouted, "Go! We're leaving!" She leapt aboard as the engines ignited. The ship rose, breaking through clouds of golden dust. As the warship sped away, Lyra looked back through the viewport. The entire ruin was collapsing inward, consumed by fire and light. Her pendant glowed faintly, as if pulsing in sync with her heartbeat. She whispered softly, "I'll finish what you started, grandfather. I promise." Aegis spoke gently. "Then the galaxy will soon remember what it tried to forget." Far away, beyond the stars, the Council's Grand Inquisitor watched the same explosion on his screen. His expression darkened. "So, the bloodline truly lives." He turned to his officers. "Prepare the armada. She finds the sanctum, the age of the Council ends." The hall was silent. No one dared to move. The giant hologram of the ancient warlord still floated in the air, tall, fierce, and wearing armor that looked both alien and strangely human. The council members, the alien scholars, the guards, all eyes were locked on one person, Elara. She stood in the center of the hall, her hands trembling slightly, but her eyes sharp and calm. The light from the hologram shimmered across her face, almost like a reflection of destiny. Dr. Marin, her mentor, whispered softly, "Elara." "What did you just say?" She took a deep breath and repeated, her voice steady. "That man, the one you call the ancient Conqueror, he's my grandfather." Gasps filled the room. A few aliens stepped back in disbelief. Others began speaking rapidly in their own languages. The noise built until the High Counselor slammed his staff on the ground, silencing everyone. "Explain yourself, human," the counselor said coldly. "You claim blood ties to the warlord of the first expansion. That is impossible." Elara looked around, her gaze meeting each of the skeptical faces. "You think it's impossible because you never believed humans were part of the old empires. But we were, long before your historians started rewriting the stars." Marin's eyes widened. "Elara, this is... Are you saying humans existed in the ancient empire's time?" "Yes," she said firmly. "And more than that, we let it." The council chamber buzzed again. A blue-skinned alien scholar shouted, "Lies! The human race was discovered barely 3,000 cycles ago. You had no spacefaring technology." Elara stepped forward. "You found us after we fell. You think you discovered us. But what you really did was find the ashes of something far older than your entire galactic union." The High Counselor's eyes narrowed. "You are speaking of forbidden legends, myths." Elara smiled faintly. "Myths have roots in truth." She turned to the hologram again. "You wanted me to identify the ancient warlord. His name was Varan Sol, and before he became the terror of your galaxy, he was known on Earth as Varian Holt, my ancestor." Her voice echoed through the hall. Even the hologram seemed to flicker as though the past itself stirred at her words. Dr. Marin stepped closer. "If that's true, then why has no record ever shown humans connected to him?" "Because someone erased it," Elara said quietly. "The records of his origins were destroyed after the Great Collapse. When the Empire fell, the victors hid his true race. They feared the humans' return, The High Counselor's expression turned grim. "Prove it." Elara reached into her satchel and pulled out a small metallic cube. It pulsed faintly with golden light. This was found beneath the old Terran ruins on Mars. I decoded it myself. It contains fragments of genetic archives, DNA records from before your union even existed. The counselor gestured, and one of the alien scientists took the cube carefully. The chamber's hollow display lit up, scanning the data. Lines of ancient text and DNA sequences appeared. The system beeped once, then again, then a voice, a synthetic, emotionless Wakta spoke. Match confirmed, genetic origin, human, lineage, Holt family. The hall froze. Every alien in the room stared at the glowing words. Dr. Marin covered her mouth. "It's true." Elara nodded slowly. "He was one of us." The High Counselor's face was unreadable. "If this is true, human, then it changes everything we know of history. It means the first conqueror of the stars was a child of Earth." Elara looked up at the massive galactic map floating behind them. "Maybe that's why humanity was forgotten. Not because we were weak, but because the galaxy feared what we once were." The counselor turned to the others. "We must investigate further. This knowledge cannot leave this chamber." But it was too late. Across the network, the data had already begun spreading. The image of Varan's soul, the ancient conqueror, now labeled human origin, flashed through countless star systems. Within hours, every corner of the galaxy was buzzing with the news. In the outer colonies, some humans wept. Others felt pride. Across alien worlds, fear and disbelief spread like wildfire. The ancient warlord was human, they whispered. How could that be? And deep inside the galactic archives, hidden systems started to unlock. Forgotten files locked for millennia blinked to life. Old human technology. Blueprints of ships more advanced than anything the Union had ever seen. Elara stood alone in her quarters, staring out into the stars. Dr. Marin entered quietly behind her. "You know they'll come for you now," Marin said softly. "You've shaken the foundation of the galaxy." Elara didn't look away from the window. Maybe it needed shaking. Marin hesitated. Was it true? All of it? Elara smiled faintly. Every word. Then she turned, her eyes glinting like starlight. But what they don't know is that he wasn't the only one. Somewhere, far beyond the known systems, a signal pulsed, old, coded, and human. A voice echoed faintly from the transmission. Legacy protocol active. Bloodline confirmed. Return sequence initiated. The stars outside flickered, as if answering a call older than any empire. And for the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy remembered what humanity truly was. The stars shimmered like silent witnesses to forgotten truths. Across the galaxy, screens flickered, data streams burned, and the same message echoed from one world to another. The ancient conqueror was human. The galaxy was no longer silent. It was alive, shaken, questioning, afraid. Every archive, every historian, every emperor wanted to know how the small, quiet race called humans had hidden such a past. And at the center of it all stood Elara. She was no longer just a student, no longer a curiosity among aliens. She was now the living key to a truth buried under 10,000 years of lies. In the capital city of the Galactic Union, chaos reigned. Crowds gathered in front of holoscreens. Alien newscasters spoke in hundreds of languages, all repeating the same story. The conqueror who united half the stars was human. Some refused to believe it. Others demanded the truth. And a few, the oldest species, looked terrified. In a dark council chamber, the High Council gathered once again. The High Counselor's voice trembled with anger and fear. This cannot be allowed to spread further. If humans rediscover their past strength, if they reclaim their lost technology, then no empire will stand in their way, another council member finished grimly. Meanwhile, aboard an old space station orbiting a dying star, Elara sat with Dr. Marin. The lights were dim, the hum of the engines the only sound. Elara's hands moved quickly across the console. The ancient cube pulsed with faint golden light. "There's more in here," she murmured. "Something deeper. A locked message." Marin leaned over her shoulder. "You've already revealed the warlord's bloodline, Elara. Isn't that enough?" Elara shook her head. "He didn't fight just to conquer. There was a reason behind everything. I can feel it. The cube blinked once, then twice. Suddenly, a holographic figure emerged from it. Not the warlord, but a younger man. Human. His eyes burned with quiet pride. "If you're seeing this," the figure said, "then my bloodline lives." Elara froze. Marin gasped. "I am Varian Holt. I fought not for conquest, but for survival. The galaxy turned on humanity. Our allies betrayed us. Our creations were stolen, our name erased. But one day, when my descendants rise again, the legacy of Earth will awaken." The hologram raised its hand. Behind him appeared a massive structure, an enormous ring-shaped station orbiting a distant world. "Find the Ark of Dawn. Within it lies what was once ours. The tools to rebuild. The heart of human legacy," the message ended. The cube dimmed. Elara sat frozen. The air in the room felt heavy. "The Ark of Dawn," she whispered. "It's real." Within hours, encrypted human communication networks came alive. Small outposts, old research ships, deep space miners, all humans scattered across alien territories, began talking, connecting, remembering. They shared the broadcast. The hologram, the coordinates that Elara decoded from the cube. A single phrase appeared across every channel. "Humanity awakens." The Galactic Union panicked. The Council issued orders to intercept Elara. Fleets moved quietly through the stars. But word spread faster than ships could fly, and something began to stir. Old Terran satellites, long dead and suddenly powered up. Forgotten defense drones and asteroid belts reactivated. Even ancient ruins on Mars and Luna began transmitting strange signals. The sleeping network of humanity's first empire was waking. Elara and Dr. Marin escaped the capital station with the help of a few loyal humans from the lower decks, pilots, engineers, and scientists who believed in her. They flew in an old human-built frigate, patched with alien tech, heading toward the coordinates from the cube. The ship's pilot, a rugged ex-soldier named Cade, grinned as they jumped into warp. "You really stirred up a storm, Doc," he said. Elara gave a small smile. "Then let's make sure it's worth it." As the stars stretched into blue lines, Marin looked uneasy. "Elara, what if this Ark of Dawn doesn't exist?" Elara looked out at the stars. "It does. He left it for us." He knew one day someone would find the truth. When they arrived, the scene took their breath away. There, orbiting a silent, forgotten planet, was a massive ring, larger than any alien station. Its surface was scarred, but still glowing faintly. The Ark of Dawn. Elara felt her heart race. "He built this to wait for us." They docked near one of the open ports. The air inside was still breathable. Old Earth standard oxygen. The halls were lined with murals depicting humans standing among stars, shaking hands with alien species, building cities across galaxies. "It's beautiful," Marin whispered. In the center chamber, a console waited. Elara placed the cube inside it. Lights flared to life, spreading across the entire structure. A voice echoed through the halls, calm, powerful, unmistakably human. "Welcome back, children of Earth. The Ark has waited long enough." The floor vibrated as systems came online. Deep beneath the planet's surface, engines roared to life, engines that had not burned in thousands of years. Outside, every sensor in the galaxy detected a massive energy surge. The Ark of Dawn was awakening. In the council chamber, panic erupted. "She found it. The human weapon." But one ancient alien scholar spoke quietly, trembling. "It is not a weapon. It is a reminder." Back on the Ark, Elara watched as a vast hologram of the galaxy appeared. Hundreds of red points began to glow. Hidden human colonies, buried bases, ancient fleets long thought destroyed. Each one blinked online, one after another. Marin whispered, "My God." "They never died." Elara placed her hand on the console. "No," she said softly. "We just waited." The ship's comms burst alive with human voices, cheers, and tears. Across the stars, humanity remembered its strength. Elara looked out into space. "They wanted us to forget who we were," she said. "But we are humanity. We fall, we rise, and we remember." The Ark's engines ignited, brighter than a sun. A new dawn spread across the galaxy. The dawn of a species that once ruled the stars, and would again.